Why were you trying to contact me?
You oppose the heretics, those that took the old machines as gods.
All kinds of organics fought Sovereign and his Geth allies. Why am I so interesting?
You were the most successful. You killed their god. You succeeded where others did not. Your code is superior.
Welcome to Superior Code, my solo podcast. I have the ASMR going because there's a lot of cars that drive by my place. So hopefully this is more relaxing than hearing a bunch of cars going by. So I want to talk about the disappointment of otome games and how they could be so much better if they were just get out of the cuteness and wholesome. Like just get out of the rom-com cliche of being so innocent and cute and sassy. And I want them to be more like dating sims for men. So otome games are basically dating sims, but if you just type in dating sim, you're gonna get a bunch of games catered towards men where you can play as a male character and you can only date women. So you have to type in otome if you want to play a game where you play as a female and you date a bunch of guys. There are some otome games where they let you choose to be male or female, but you can only date men. So it's basically catered towards a female audience. So I specifically want to talk about the disappointing of eroge games, which is basically erotic games, 18 plus, porn games for women. So men have like hundreds, maybe even thousands of these hentai games to choose from, that it's hard for them to even be disappointed because they have so much options. So like as many categories and tags and genres there are of porn, imagine the exact same but for anime, but even more because they can be even more creative because they could just draw it. They can draw all of it. They don't have to have real people getting into these impossible positions or anything like that. So there's just way more that they can do, and it's just kind of disappointing that seeing men get all of these things while we get two. We get two games that I could find that is straight up porn, an otome game for women that is translated in the West here. Now they have more porn games for women, but it's still just a handful of it in Japan. So even if they were to like fully translate all of those games and bring it here, it'd still be slim pickings compared to the porn that men get to play. So the disappointing game that I just played, and is the sole reason why I'm making this episode, is Cyberpunk 69. So, with a name like that, you would think it's the porn version of Cyberpunk 2077. No. It is very wholesome. It's cute. It is the same characters from Cyberpunk, but it's not porn whatsoever. It's very misleading. There's no nudity, no sex scenes, no detailed sex scenes, no graphic sex scenes. So you do get to have sex with a guy, but it's not detailed. All you see is his chest, and you can only have sex with him once, and that's it. While men get to have sex with their female characters multiple times, they can see graphic images of them, and the sex scenes are very detailed on what they are doing. So that's why I was very disappointed. Like, with a name, Bang 69, you think it'd be very kinky. Nope, the guy is actually very shy and kind of a prude, and like your V, because you do play as V, you could be male or female V. There's a part in the game where you can choose to sleep with someone else, like a random stranger. You don't even know what he looks like. They didn't even care enough to show us that, to see who we're having a fling with or one night stand with. So you can have sex with a random stranger, but it doesn't go into any detail. It's just you meet someone at a bar and it says you went home with him, and then the next time you wake up in your bed and he's not even there. It doesn't even say what happened or any detail whatsoever. It's just the next day. But V talks about how this guy character she's trying to get with, when they first met, he calls her a whore, and she's thinking like, oh, I hate to like prove him wrong. I hope this doesn't affect how he thinks of me. And I'm just thinking, are you serious? We're gonna have slut shaming in a game called Bang 69. So like, if a group of fans ever want to actually make a porn version of Cyberpunk, they're gonna have to think of another clever name for it, because this good one was snatched up by this group who just wanted to make stereotypical cutesy girly game. I could tell they worked really hard on this game. Like, when I first was booting it up, I was so excited. Like, I could tell it was well made. The music, the visuals, the art was great. Like, there's that effect where V's implant is glitching and she's like, her head is hurting. And they have that in this game, and it works so well. I really like it. And the story is interesting. It's like their own little headcanon of what is actually canon in the cyberpunk world. They have their own little headcanon just to make the story a lot shorter, because it's a visual novel. It just sucks that that's not why I was there. That's not why I was playing it. I was playing it for the porn and was disappointed, and I felt like my time was wasted. But I could tell they worked really hard on the game. I just wish they worked a lot harder on the title. So when I was trying to look up reviews or other people's thoughts about Cyberbang 69, I found Cybercrush 2069, which has nothing to do with the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. Nothing to do with those characters. It's just a similar name, so it got popped up. And it's a dating sim for men. And I looked up a no commentary playthrough of it just to see if it lives up to its name. And it does. It doesn't clickbait the men. It lives up to it. When you first start up the game, it has a FAP mode where if you do all the tutorial, you can just look at the images of the graphic images of all the women naked, fully on display. You could see full-on sex scenes, intercourse, all of that. Like, you don't even have to play the whole game, just at least get through all the tutorials, and you have this FAP mode. And when you start the game, in the beginning and through the end of the fucking game, the female characters' sprites, it's like good art, realistic anime art, and their boobs bounce the whole time, slow motion, for the player, in tight clothes. Like, anytime the character is talking to this character, like, you're playing as a male character, anytime your male character is talking to the ladies on screen, their boobs are always bouncing. So, male players getting that eye candy even before they get to fuck their characters, while women have to wait to see any sexy scenes until you actually have sex, and then it's just a shirtless guy. That's about it. Not even full nude. So, it's kind of like Candy Crush, or Honey Pop, where it's like, when you play that game, you get to become closer to the women, closer to fucking them. and dating them. You can date lots of women, while Cyberbang 69, you can only date one guy at a time. There are different routes, so there is no jealousy involved, there's no two-timing, no cheating, no, like, dating multiple guys coming after you all at once. It's just the one. And he's not even coming after you, it's your V going after him. So in this game for men, they have all of these girls like a buffet for their choosing. And they could change the women's clothes to be more revealing, which is a plus for them because they're always bouncing. So it's a big benefit to get these characters more revealing, because then you just have better eye candy. And like I said, like, you can have sex with them more than once. So not only can you fuck different types of women, you can fuck them multiple times within that same playthrough. So with all kinds of sex scenes, the 69 in Cyber Crush 2069 is not there for the story, versus Cyberbang's 69. I don't know why 69 is in the title at all. It's just there because it's a funny number. It's funnier than 77. So I didn't like watch the full playthrough. I skipped a lot just to see like the different women and the different style of gameplay and stuff like that, because like I said, it has shit writing. I don't care about that. I was just comparing the sexiness of the two, especially with their porn names, like the titles of their games. So I don't really know if the male character has to tell all the female characters that he loves them when he has sex with them, but regardless, the player doesn't really have to mean it to get what they want, which is seeing the graphic scenes, seeing the full nudes, the full sex scenes, intercourse, everything. So they get to have sex with them multiple times, whether they actually have a crush on those characters or not. Versus in Cyberbang, V and the guy that she's trying to get has to say they love each other before they fuck. And it's really annoying because you only have sex one time, and it's right after you say you love each other, when there was a situation before that, like I guess in the game, a day before that, where they had to share a bed, and they didn't fuck at all. Totally innocent, didn't fuck at all. Like, this game would have been very cute and amazing and everything I ever wanted if I was a teenager. Back when I was a teen, this game would have blown my mind. I would have thought it was the sexiest thing on the planet. But I'm 32. So, that's not very satisfying, like, at all. I'm not in the headspace of role-playing as cute high schoolers, and they had the gall to make this guy a virgin. The time setting of Cyberpunk is a dark future, a harsh world, where this guy is part of a rich group, and all of those rich people, they get to fuck whoever they want. They could, they use their influence to get chicks, whatever. So the fact that he lives in this world, he's a full-grown adult, and he's a virgin. Stop. Get out of here. Like, how does him being a virgin make him more desirable? Because, oh, you're his first one. I'm so happy that it is canon that V is not a virgin. Because when you talk to a certain character, whether you like it or not, she has a past. She has experience. Because if she didn't have that, I kid you not, it probably would have been in the game for you to pick an option for V to be a virgin as well. It's just, I don't get why a lot of people think that's what women want in their love stories, what women want in their porn. That's not what we want, especially in porn. We're sick of rom-coms. Like, even people who like rom-coms get so excited when a rom-com thinks outside the box, you know? So, yeah, it was just, there were so many things piling up where it's like, this does not deserve to be called Cyberbang 69. It should have been called something way more innocent. So I'm gonna try and step back from throwing more punches at Cyberbang 69 because it is a free game. You can donate to them because they are working hard on it, and there's other paths for the guys, but they're in demo mode. But it's just not that game. It's all games catered towards women. All games are claimed to be 18 plus, but it really feels like they're catering to someone in high school. You're always gonna impress a teenager with these sexy games. Like, it's so easy for a teenager to fall in love. So easy. It's so easy to be like, oh, first times are supposed to be special. Your first kiss, your first date, the first guy you like, first everything. But with porn, you can't just think about the 20 teens, because you just got to think about the people who are a lot older and have seen it all and are just tired of the same bullshit, and times are changing. Men get so much sexy college teen movies, while women just get rom-com, and then when we do get something sexy like 50 Shades, it goes viral as people hating on it because, oh, it's bad representation of how relationships should be. It's like, yeah, we're not here to see a how-to on relationships. We're here to get horny. If men could get horny movies, why can't women? If men can have their problematic movies, why can't women? Like, we want feminism in the real world, not really in our porn. I'm sick of, like, society thinking women get excited over characters making eye contact, or their hands touching, or them sharing a bottle of water, or a mug, or they finally kissed. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that being sexy, because women have to just picture it in our heads on what it could lead to. We have to picture the sex because the movie, the show, the game isn't gonna show us. We have to picture it. While men don't have to think at all, their media provides for them. Now, I am saying that feminism comes in handy when it's a show that isn't romantic whatsoever, but for some reason, the camera is up this woman's skirt. For some reason, this woman is dressed sexy while the male characters don't. So, that's where I think feminism needs to continue focusing their energy on, is where it actually is harmful, because representation does matter. And if society is telling women we're just nothing but eye candy, that's all our existence is, then that's where it's problematic and very toxic, and why a lot of men think women are second-class citizens. But when it's something catered to basically being porn, it's basically fantasy, I think it's okay. It's really annoying when even men will be upset that women like something like 50 Shades of Grey. Women are shamed for liking something like that when there are harsher, well, not harsher, but there are more graphic porn out there. Like, men get their incest, kink, porn, it's out there, but for some reason that's not really being talked about. That's not, Japan really has a sibling fetish, really likes their characters looking like little girls, but 50 Shades is disgusting. Okay. So I really hate how it's so rare for women to get these straight up sex movies. Because if we had a lot, and if 50 Shades wasn't rare, 50 Shades wouldn't be popular. Because we would have other stuff to choose from. People would have other stuff to choose from that even women who don't really like the problematic aspects of 50 Shades, they still went and watched it because it's the closest thing they can get to something sexy on the big screen, because men get that all the time. So we need more options so we can filter out what we like and what we don't. Going back into video games, I want to have fan service scenarios in dating sims where a woman trips and falls onto a man's dick, either grabbing it with her hand or just face first, because that's what men get. Men get that type of fan service where they trip and fall onto a woman and it's in a sexual position. I want a game where neither of the characters are shy. The girl you're playing as and the guy that you want, none of them are shy. It's always one or the other, or they're both shy and to come off as cute, and I'm sick of it. Like, you're adults. In the actual game of Cyberpunk, the characters don't stay blushing and shy. Like, as soon, like, you could see the nervousness of them asking if they like you or if you like them back. And then after the answer is yes, your characters go for it. The shyness disappears. So it's just this, the fear of rejection is why they are nervous. It's not really shy because, oh, we're going to talk about sex. It's the shyness of like, oh, are you going to reject me? That's going to be embarrassing. So after the answer is yes, both of the characters, no matter who you're romancing, the shyness is gone. And I want that in, like, games catered toward just women, because Cyberpunk is for every gamer. And I know it's popular for men to like shy girls and blushing women, like it's very popular in their porn, but they have so much porn that there is a lot of the time where the women are just sex craved and they're not shy and they're just after the guy's dick. And if you don't want shy girls, you can find porn where there are 0 shy girls, and I want that for women. Shy boys are just not sexy, not attractive to me. Like, I like guys who know what they want. It's part of the reason why I liked 50 Shades. Every time I heard about 50 Shades, it was from someone shitting on it, and everything they list that was wrong about it, it was on my list of kinks, of the stuff that I like in men, in porn. It's everything I like about it. It's why I like the series You on Netflix, why I'm actually rooting for the guy, because it's just fantasy thing of like, I want more of this. I like yandere men, and there's not enough of it. And rightfully so, they should be be portrayed as villains, but as long as it's sexy, I don't care if they're villains. It's just a fantasy, and I want more fantasy tropes for us to choose from. It's not like I only want this, because then other women are gonna complain because they're not into this. So, all the women who love that high school shit, you're being satisfied with the dating sims that are already out for women, but the rest of us who are sick and tired of that lovey-dovey stuff, we want more. So in these games, these dating sims for women, where it will have a sex part in it, but if I remind you, it's not graphic or detailed whatsoever, it's just implied. And the picture would just be of a man shirtless. So when a game has that as an option, you have to choose the right responses to even be able to successfully date a guy or get his affection. So if you flirt too much, too early, you come on too strong to them, they're gonna be put off by it. You're gonna end up with no one, and you're gonna get like the bad ending, which is like you're single or whatever. So I just don't get the logic of oh, congratulations, you've been such a good girl, you're not flirty, you're not slutty, here's sex. Versus, oh, you're flirting way too much, you're too much of a slut, no sex for you. I don't understand that. It doesn't work that way in games for men, but for women, you gotta not come off too easy, or you're not gonna get sex. It's basically how men are in real life, where they pretend to be your friend, but their goal is just sex. Wow, women have to be that in video games. You're supposed to flirt, but if you flirt too much, you're playing it wrong? I don't get that. Like, the dating sims for men, they do have games where if you come off too strong to the girls, they'll like back away from you. But there are like so many options of video games where you could play where all the females are just willing, and you can flirt with them right from the start and you'll get your prize. And I just want that option for us as well, where it's like not every single guy is gonna be a gentleman or shy. I want to talk about the main characters you play as, these female characters in the Otome games, because they're basically like Toru from Fruits Basket. They're very innocent, wholesome, nice and polite, and pure-hearted. They don't think any weird thoughts or anything, and if they do, they like punish themselves, and like it's very annoying and cliche. And why are they in 18 plus games? I don't get it. So the reason why I was really excited for Cyberbang 69 was because it's based off of the real game, and in the game, V is a very independent, badass woman, and I don't want the only way a female character can stand up for herself is because she's a mercenary. I don't want that. I want an everyday, normal person who's not a murderer. I want them to be able... I want to be able to play those girls in these dating sims, and her be able to stand up for herself. Just be strong enough to not take shit from rude men. I want these main female leads to be superficial and to be only attracted to a guy based on his looks and nothing else, and just in it for one thing, just for sex, for casual sex at first, and then as we play the game, our character can fall in love and be more invested in their relationship with them. And that's just what I really want after seeing the games that men get. And I don't want the female characters to keep overthinking every interaction that they just had with the guy they like. I don't really want a main character to be so love-struck and just obsessed with a guy based on love at first sight. I don't want that anymore. I'm in my 30s, like, I just want something a little bit more realistic, only because that's not an option right now for us. All of the sexy games made for us, that's just not an option. And I'm not saying that the wholesome games need to stop. No, keep going, keep making them. But I want more options of these games, different types of games, different types of characters to be made. I want them to have in mind the adults who are playing them and not just thinking about the excitement of an 18-year-old playing these games. I'm sick of like the dialogue being, oh, I don't know what love is. What's wrong with me? What's this feeling? It's like, if I think back to when I was a teen, I knew exactly when I had a crush on someone. I knew, like, the first time I had a crush, I knew it was this strong feeling of, I really like this guy. And I never thought, like, oh, I don't understand these feelings, like I'm some type of robot who's never had an emotion before. So it's just, even, like, just the fact that these lines are in normal shoujo anime, not porn whatsoever, is ridiculous. So the fact that these lines are in porn is even more ridiculous. Like, we want a more confident main character to play as. Like the games I mentioned where dating is not the main goal. It's even a skippable side thing in the game. So in Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Cyberpunk 2077, and Fallout 4, like, these games, you could play as a female character who is just confident when she's flirting, confident when she's asking for sex. She's just not shy. It's not her first time flirting, not her first time fucking. So it's just a new experience. The only time a character is really shy when they're talking to someone they're attracted to is it's because they're nervous about the rejection. That's all it is. It's not like, oh, this is so embarrassing, flirting, because they're gonna know I just want, to kiss them and fuck them. But it's not that. That's not why they're shy, because they're thinking about the big picture. They're being shy because they're scared of the rejection, and that's the cute part. That's like the good feeling of having the little butterflies in your stomach, is not knowing if the character is gonna accept your feelings for them. So I want to talk about how these male characters treat your female character. When I'm playing an 18 plus game, I find it to be such a big turnoff when these characters ask suddenly if it's okay to kiss me, okay to touch me, and it's like, have I not been flirting with this character throughout the game? Can they not read body language? Is this not supposed to be a sexy game? So I totally get if this type of writing was in a game that wasn't supposed to be sexy and was just in a wholesome game. Like, good, show young players how a healthy relationship should be. But when it's like in porn, it's like, are, you know, loosely porn, because they don't actually show anything graphic, and 18 plus, like I've mentioned, but, shouldn't the writers know that it's not really sexy to ask, especially when it's every guy? Like, I can totally get behind if this is connected to the guy characters where they would ask, but all of the guy characters would ask. Not one of them is going to be a smooth talker whatsoever, going to be very experienced to know what's hot and what's not, or based on your choices, these guys aren't going to know what this woman prefers. Some women want to be asked. Some women find it hot to be asked if it's okay, and other women, like me, don't. So it would be really refreshing if in the future more games were made to where it's not always just a bunch of gentlemen in the games. And these are usually just like indie dating sim games. It's not really in the official ones or the big AAA ones where the characters were asked if it's okay. The website each.io, it's like a site where you could just make a dating sim and then upload it there either for free, or you could put a price and people can buy it. So people who had Kickstarters for it and stuff like that. And I get the woke culture is trying to improve the way of thinking and what is healthy and what isn't. But I really don't need that pandered into an 18 plus material, you know? It's like, let fantasies be as toxic and problematic as we want, you know? It's not all about, you're not gonna play an 18 plus game and you're not gonna play porn to find out how to have a healthy relationship. You're not going in there to find out how to do that. So we don't need that type of representation in porn. And especially when it's coming from every single guy. Now, I'm not saying I don't want characters to be romantic. I just don't find them asking every time if something's okay. I just don't find that romantic nor sexy. So, but every woman's different. That's why I'm just upset that it's every guy who are asked that in these indie games. So, I want romance. I like romantic stuff from a character where I'm building a character crush. But when you first play a game, it's not like I immediately have a crush on them. I don't know these characters. So I think being superficial, every person is going into it being superficial at first, and it would be nice if the main character I'm playing as fits my mood. And all of these male characters using words like they were waiting for someone special, or soulmate. It's not what every woman wants to hear, especially a 32-year-old. It's just, there's a character in Mass Effect Andromeda where you don't really get that serious, but you could tell both characters are really attracted to each other and really respect each other. And this character ends up hiding a big lie from you, and if you choose to forgive them and still stay in the relationship with them, you have another second option of response to them, and they'll say like, oh, I'll never like keep anything from you. You have the response to be like, good, we should tell each other everything, or it's okay. You can be yourself and keep your secrets. Just don't hide the big stuff from me, like big lies that can affect me as well. Tell me about them. But little lies that are none of my business, that's your life, you can keep your secrets. And I just found that to be so mature and very realistic. And I love that that response was available for us to choose. Because I liked the idea that he has a lot more secrets that he's not telling my character, and especially if these secrets have nothing to do with my character, it's like, yeah, keep them. I don't care. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other players that does care. Any type of secret, it's like, why aren't you telling me? And that's why there's an option for you to be like, tell me everything. Let's tell each other everything, no more secrets. So I just like options. And this is from a game that isn't a dating sim. It's amazing how other AAA games, or not just AAA, but just any type of video game that is not a dating sim, but if they have dating in it, they do dating better than actual dating sim games where their whole thing is being good at dating and they're just not that great at it, versus these games that have it in it but the main goal is like to save the world or something. It's just, I wish these writers, instead of like focusing on a better more important story, they just focus on making a dating sim because they know how to do it. They know how to cater to mature gamers. It's like there's a lot of relationships that are so mature, while there are other relationships where your character and their character, the NPC, are both shy at flirting, and it's just the flirting that they really are shy at. It's not the fear of rejection. So it's like these games that aren't even dating sims have way more options than actual dating sims. So I would love if these games that do dating better than actual dating sims, I would love it if they added porn to it. So instead of porn with plot, it's plot with porn in it. So when these other games have romance in them, they do have sex scenes, but it's not like graphic or detailed or anything. It's just, it's basically like sex in an action movie, where it shows them in bed and humping, but it doesn't show anything. So that's kind of how the video games are, but it's a lot more awkward, not really sexy, it's more funny, because they're using in-game graphics. So at least in movies, it's not like everything looks so cool, but once they get to the sex scenes, they're using different graphics. So it doesn't work that way. So in video games, I think they need to start using more cinematic cutscenes in side mission stuff, because usually cinematic cutscenes are only used for the main story plot, and I think if they start using good cutscenes for their romances, it's really gonna be like a sort of a competition to the dating sim world. They'll see players being excited about this aspect and more fans making fan-made dating sims because of that game that has cinematic cutscenes in it, and just adding to that, like maybe having more days to date this character when the game that it came from doesn't have that, because the main plot is not dating, it's saving the world or something. In Dragon Age Origins and Fallout 4, for example, you can have sex with your love interest as many times as you want and any time you want when you're in camp, And it's like when you're on this journey trying to stop someone or trying to find someone, along the way you make these connections and you can still have a good time because you're on foot and you might as well just have fun. So I really like this feature. I wish it was in more dating sims, and because like I said, usually sex is towards the end of the game and that's it. You just get to have sex with them once. And in Mass Effect 2, after you beat the game, you can call up your love interest to your room and just hang out with them anytime you want. It's just a nice little feature that I would really like added to otome games. And in Cyberpunk 2077, you can live with your romantic partner and you could date more than one, so you can date up to 2 of them and they never find out about each other. There's a certain point in the game towards the end where you have to choose either one of them or none, like if you don't want to be with either one. But yeah, they never find out, so you can just romance both and then choose later. But either way, both characters let you come visit them and hang out in their apartment and sleep with them anytime you want. And when you're busy doing other missions, they'll text you randomly throughout. Like once you complete all of their missions, the game doesn't just forget about them. The game reminds you, hey, these characters still exist. Here's a text from them. And you can call them anytime you want to talk. You can call them on the phone and just talk to them before the game ends. So these are such nice additions to dating someone, and I feel like a lot more dating sims should include these little ways of getting you to be obsessed and have a character crush on the characters they want you to date. So I don't know if these scenarios only work for a game where the main goal isn't to date and be in a relationship, because it has a good excuse for your main character to go away and be busy and do something else that has nothing to do with the person they're interested in, to give a reason for why you would go visit them, to give a reason why they would text you to see what's up. Because in dating sims, you're there basically 24/7, always around them, because it's a dating sim. But I would really think it would benefit like Eroga games and Safe for Work dating sim games if they started making the main plot something bigger and the second plot dating. And it could still work as it being advertised as a dating sim, but the dating is secondary important, because The Witcher 3 does it well. The Witcher 3, the story is basically the main character, Geralt, is looking for the woman he loves, and when he finds her, his next main goal is looking for his daughter. So even though the main goal is not dating, but it's still very much important, because the woman he loves is a very important character throughout the series, and it's solely based on them being together and their relationship, and based on the wish he made that he always wanted to be with her, and that they're basically always be connected. I forgot how he worded his wish, but he basically made it to where she wouldn't die because he wanted to protect her, because it was in a situation where she was about to die, so he had to word a wish in a way to where she'll still exist. Anyway, even though you could play the game to where you can make him end up single, it's still so important to the story that it's brung up so many times, and it's almost unskippable. There is a way you can skip it and just not go, but the characters talk about, like, hey, you didn't meet me here, like, I wanted you to meet me here, versus, like, in other games, if you don't do a side quest, characters don't care. They don't bring it up. It's just you're speedrunning the game, and the game doesn't care that you don't want to be a completionist. But in The Witcher 3, yes, it's a side quest, but it's really, really important that you do it. So much that the character speaks up that you didn't do it. So that's how dating sims can be. They can totally still be advertised as a dating sim, but not have it the main story, so that it can have all of these little features of you not living, basically. You not living with your significant other because you're too busy doing something else, and then it creates cute moments of you guys trying to get together and hang out again. It really makes the relationship feel not only real, but way more mature than what we're used to getting. And I guess it can also be argued that dating sims don't have to do that. It's totally, like, people want to, like, why would you want to have a distraction away from dating? So I could totally get that. I'm just talking about options. I want way more options of how a game can make its characters sexy and desirable. Because we don't, as in women, we don't have a lot of options. And maybe it can just stay with these other games that aren't based on love. Maybe that concept of dating can just stay with them. But if that's the case, then I really, really hope that these other games, mainly these AAA games, I really hope that they continue to add more and more towards their relationship with these characters that our character can date. I hope they start adding way more to what they have been, because I've seen, like, people saying stuff like, oh, I keep replaying this game just for 17 minutes of content of dating this person. And I totally understand that. It's like 80 hours of playing this game just for 17 minutes. Like, if you just squish it all together, it's just 17 minutes of romance, because this game isn't a romance game. So I would love it if it was way more than 17 minutes and the romance was added in to the main story, like The Witcher does its story. It, like, throughout the books, the series, and everything, like, the main story is, like, interlocked with Geralt's romantic interests. And I would love if more games did that, because I'm not getting satisfied whatsoever with otome games, and I want to be. I really want to be, because I love the aesthetic of it. I love the visual novel look. It's just the dialogue and the content that's really disappointing, because I keep saying it over and over. I'm 32, I'm tired of the tropes, and I want something more catered to me, and I'm getting that from other games. But I want it from otome games. So I want to talk about how Japanese anime is stuck with these forced set personality types. The tsundere, kundere, dandere, and it just ensures that these characters won't be developed. It's like in anime, they'll have an episode catered to them that looks like they're going to have some character growth, it looks like everything's gonna change. They're gonna start treating everyone, or at least the main character, different. And then the next episode happens, and it's like nothing ever happened. They're right back to acting as if they were before that episode happened. They're right back to treating the characters the same way. And it's like no character development whatsoever. It's like the development was for the audience, not the characters. And I really, really hate that. I never knew that I can outgrow anime. So I still really like anime and the aesthetics. I have so many posters of shows I've never seen before, but I just love the way the characters look. Or shows that I did try to watch, but I end up dropping because I can't get into it. I grew out of it, never thought I would. And I'm very picky with my anime now, and the biggest reason is these character types. So like in video game terms, it's basically, it was just XP for the player because the character doesn't remember the growth, only we do. So let's talk about the set personalities made here in the West, like either in video games and TV shows. They do have set basic personalities, but that's just for first impressions because the characters can grow and branch off into new outlooks, new personalities, new opinions. Like, based on what they've been through, for The Walking Dead, for example, there were characters in the start that were just, like, so wholesome, and then they grow into a hardened person. They take trauma, and they either become an even better person, an even smarter person, and a stronger person, and continue to have the same values, but with more experience. Or they could take their trauma and decide to be angry about it and grow stronger by becoming a more evil character and stop being such a sheep and becoming a wolf. And that's a lot of times that just doesn't happen in anime, and it's so rare. Like, it happens, but I hate that it's rare. Versus stuff that it's made here in the West, it's not rare. When it happens, it just happens, and we're excited for it. It makes sense for stuff to happen. There's so many character developments in, like, Ozark, for example, and games where you can choose options and help your companions out. You can help choose the paths of, like, how they're gonna take something. For example, Dragon Age, you can take a character's trauma and help them work through it by making them stronger and harden their heart, or you can help them make it to where it doesn't change them for the bad. Like, it doesn't make them a worse person. You can help them change to where it makes you, like I said, smarter. Instead of being stupid and naive, you could be a nice person and be strategic about it, you know, not so much of a pushover. I want more of that in an anime. Like in anime shows and in anime styled video games, because when it's so rare, it just sucks when these little hidden gems are hidden behind, like, so many episodes of a long series anime that I'm just not interested in. It's like, oh cool, characters in Naruto, like, change and become different people, but it's Naruto. I don't want to have to watch Naruto to see, like, hey, look, character development. I'm not interested in Naruto. I want it in other anime to where I can enjoy that in a piece of media and a genre that I like. versus a fighting anime that I'm not interested in. Now, something I will admit that the games made here have the same problems with the games made in Japan is the main characters being teens or 20 teens. More often than not, they're at least over 18, so they're 20 teens, but it's still annoying because it's basically society telling everyone life is only exciting if you're experiencing it young. And I still feel really young, and I still really love video games. I play them daily, and it's just annoying that the pool is getting smaller and smaller with how much I can relate to characters when other characters keep calling me kid. So especially when I'm not doing kid things, like I'm a murderer. In most of these games, I'm murdering someone. So can we stop treating this child like they're innocent and like, oh, you don't deserve what's happening to you, you deserve a happy ending. It's like, do they? So I would really, really love, because television shows and movies are a lot better in the West with main characters not being anywhere near their early 20s. They do a lot better with main characters in that age group. That I can relate to them a lot more. But I wish that was happening with video games as well. Because video games are my favorite type of media for stories. I just really love the storytelling a lot more in video games. It's a lot more immersive, and it's getting really hard, like I said, to relate. I have to create my own little headcanon that my character is actually older than what everyone thinks. They just think I'm young because I look young. I'm getting sick of having to think that way. Maybe a step towards helping Japan get out of their cliche box and just try to be more creative and think of their characters as real people is to maybe not have the visual novel format for their games, because there is a lot of cliches surrounding the visual novel genre, because the characters will over-explain their thoughts, surroundings, and the people, and what they look like and everything, and it's one of the biggest reasons why visual novels aren't my favorite games, because it's just too much dialogue that doesn't need to be there. Basically, don't say in 100 words what you can say in 10. And I wish they applied this in visual novels so much. Anytime I'm getting ready to play a visual novel, I really have to be in the mood, because it's really, really annoying having seen so many unnecessary descriptions and details. The character will think one thought and then rephrase that in 4 other sentences in different ways. What was the point? It's like the creator couldn't choose which sentence was better for the example, so he just used all of the examples. And I wish visual novels I wish the writers treated visual novel games like a manga. How manga doesn't have over explanations, because we can literally see it. We can see the surroundings, we can see the setting, we can see what the characters look like, we can see the items they're holding. But we can do that too in the video games. We can see the background, we can see what the characters look like. We can, if they're saying a certain item, because most sprite characters are just an art piece of them not moving, and it's just on screen. So most of the times their hands aren't being shown, it's just their upper body. So if they say they're trying to describe an object, they could just put the picture of the object in your face and show you, so that it doesn't have to waste our time trying to describe what this looks like and what they're doing and stuff. They could have an artwork scene, like how a manga will have, you turn the page and both pages are just one big picture. They can have that in visual novels instead of wasting our time in describing this one picture, because a picture says 1,000 words and I would rather just see the picture. I don't need the 1,000 words. So a style of gaming I think that would work really well as a dating sim would be walking simulators or point and click adventure games, because there would definitely be zero need for long descriptions of what's happening. So you could just walk around and look at your surroundings and see what's there without it having to be explained. And good examples of walking simulators are Life is Strange, the Telltale series, Gone Home, Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, and What Remains of Edith Finch. These games, you can explore beautiful surroundings, explore interesting sights and everything, and you can stay in an area so long that you look at every single detail that they put in the game instead of having to read it and being bored. It's way more interesting for the game to let us have every bit of control with what details we care about and what details we don't. If we don't really care to analyze every single thing, we don't have to. We can just move right along. Something we can't do in visual novels. We're stuck with keep clicking the skip because we are so bored, and we might miss out on a description that's actually important. So a good example of games that make it optional to hear every single fucking boring thought out of a character is Life is Strange, Heavy Rain, and Twin Mirror. It's totally optional and we don't have to listen to every single thought. There's an option to hear the thought or just interact with the damn thing, and we could just skip right to that. Versus in visual novels, we don't have that luxury. We have to hear every single thought that they have, and it's just really annoying when visual novels try to be so poetic and say things in 20 different ways. It's I really think that the dating sim category can get away from visual novels, because not all visual novels are dating sims, but all the dating sims are in visual novel format. So if they got away from that format and into walking simulators or point and click adventure, they can give control to the player more than what the visual novel type games give us. Because I know that's the reason it's called a visual novel. It's just you're reading a novel type game, but when I actually read novels and books, it's interesting shit. It's details I'm actually interested in. They're not over explaining something. Once they explain something, they move on with the story. Plus, if a dating sim has character creation, where you can, it's not in full detail, but just the fact that you can create a little bit of picking out your hairstyle and hair color and everything like that, it can really benefit from having the game in third person. And if they don't have character creation, you could just have the walking simulator in first person. So either way, it's a win, because so many people love seeing the character they created, and it helps being way more invested and helps us roleplay a lot more It's one of the things that a lot of people didn't like about Cyberpunk 2077, how it was only in first person and only had 2 cutscenes where you could see your created character. You could only see your created character in the start menu, or the menu where you could change your clothes and everything, and it's all just for so we know what we look like, but we can't constantly see our character. So I'm just saying that visual novels can really benefit from making their players happy with the option of character creation being in third person. I love Japanese anime. I love the style of anime, which is a big reason why I'm making this episode and why I want it to have more options and to change its stories a bit, to think outside the box, and from games, manga, to anime. I want them to change and be more relatable to people outside of their country, and I do want that as well. Like, we're fighting for that here in America, where we want more people of color, we want more female leads, and we want more movies from other countries being made here on the big screen. And so it should be no shock that we want more from our anime. And I just tired of the cliches, but I love the art style so much. I want to enjoy it. There are some other games I thought about that were in Japanese style, but are not in visual novel form, and that's Persona 5. It has like the stats, and there's dating in it, but that's not the main goal at all. And you can see your character. You can't really customize them, but that's totally fine. Not every dating sim you have to customize, as long as, you know, your character isn't ugly, basically. And the Catherine game, it's a puzzle game. So that's another different style of gameplay where it's basically like a more complex Honey Pop and more complex Cyber Crush 69, but yeah, in between puzzles, you go back in third person and you can play as this guy, picking choices and responses, how he talks to characters and stuff, and making them choose whatever choice and ending you want him to. And then I remember there's a Inuyasha game on the PS2, I think. I think it's PS2. It was turn-based, and you could pick male or female, and you played as a character that just teleported into that Inuyasha's world, like the way Kagome did, going down the well. And you can meet all of the characters from the show, and it wasn't flat out saying it was dating, but it was basically you flirting and creating an emotional attachment to one character. So if you focus on one character, you can basically have this strong connection with them, and it was really well for the time it came out. I'm surprised that this game hasn't been talked about or been that popular, because it's really a gem of a game, and I'm surprised it got translated. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad if, like, instead of walking simulators, more dating sims was in the style of Persona 5, where it's just a dating sim, or in the style of like a puzzle game, or in the style of a turn-based game. Now, I'm not trying to say that like all of this responsibility needs to be put on Japan, because I would love it if America started making pornographic anime dating sims, because I would relate to it a lot more than I would if Japan made it. Because I've already mentioned all of the cliches that annoy me, and I feel like a lot of those cliches wouldn't exist if America was writing it. And just for the fact that I don't ever see this happening in my lifetime is because America just is dabbling in animated shows. They have a few here and there, but it's not enough for it to have its own section to choose from. So because America's just taking its sweet time to get into like the anime world and start making their own anime, I just don't see it becoming porn for a long time. And then if it does, I don't see them making a porn video game. And then even after that, a porn video game for women. So it's gonna take a long time for America to even get me what I want. And it just sucks that I have no other option but to turn to Japan and ask for a pornographic video game catered to women with everything on my wish list. And finally, I wanted to talk about the last bit on my wish list that I really want, not only in eroge games, but also in, say for work, normal video games that just have romance in them. And that's like scenarios that are like problematic, or characters that are problematic and toxic, but the game is making it out to be hot. I really want that because it's just a video game, it's just a fantasy, and video games and porn are not a how-to relationship. It's just an escape from the real world. So I don't really like it when characters are automatically so perfect, say the right things way too PC, because there's just no character growth. For them to get to that point, they're already perfect. So I think a character having toxic traits is good for character development. So some examples that I want that are like problematic in relationships is like hate sex, on again, off again, cheating, being cheated on, jealousy, and stalkers. So I was never really a fan of like hate sex, but seeing a certain situation in like season 11 in The Walking Dead, no spoilers, but just these two characters that really hate each other and just would not make a good match. But they're like fighting and being really aggressive, like with shoving each other, and then they just part ways and stop all of a sudden, and it seems like there's this sexual tension, but there isn't. It's totally in the imaginations of fans, but it just totally looks like that, and nothing comes of it. But that was like the first time I've ever wanted to see two hot characters just fuck, and I'm surprised by it, but now hate sex is on the list that I would want in a video game. And then on again, off again relationships, I was kind of intrigued by it because of The Witcher 3. There's like these two hot people, and it's like I kind of like the idea of like these two characters having a long history together, and no matter how many times they break up, they'll still care about each other enough to like give it a try one more time. And I would like that more in other stories, because I know that's like in real life, it's you look at those type of relationships and you just kind of roll your eyes at them, but in a video game I would love it. And it's just, come on, cheating, being cheated on is kind of hot in porn, so I don't even need to explain. But I would like it if video games had the option for an open relationship, because that's usually not an option. I guess you can loosely say that it's in Fallout 4, but I don't know. That might just be Fallout 4 being lazy and doesn't really want to restrict the player into having to choose. But yeah, I really want the game to be specific and say like, these characters know they're in an open relationship with you, and they have the freedom to date whoever they want, and you have the freedom to date and flirt with whoever you want. But you're still together. So I would like there to be an option when you can date more than one person. I would love to have more cheating in video games. The only one I can think of is in Mass Effect 3. There's this one guy that cheats on the player, but it's not well done. It's very, very not sexy. It seems rushed and a last minute decision, because it's one of the characters that's just very unpopular, that they're just kind of like, let's give this character a little twist, since not that many players probably romanced them anyways. So that's very disappointing, because for the people that did romance them, it would have been so satisfying to see the cheating being more better written in a way, to where it's more satisfying of, even though if you're really angry at this character, you have the satisfying options of response to express that. But the game totally is like, yeah, your shepherd just gets over it, and it's whatever now, and you're good friends again. Like, you just stay good friends. It feels really rushed, so that's a shame. Because cheating is like one of the most popular tags in porn, like, it can be hot. If the creators in Mass Effect just doubled down and just committed to this character being a cheater, they could have totally made his romantic path very sexy. They could have made him so interesting, because you could have the option of Shepard getting back together with him in secret, and his new girlfriend just being none the wiser about it, and just making your shepherd have this sick logic of like, well, it's technically not cheating if I'm stealing him back. So it would have been really one of the hottest like relationships, versus him just being a total waste of a relationship. Because not only do you get the satisfying option, but you don't even get the satisfying option of staying angry at him. Shepard completely treats him like a friend after that. So yeah, it just was not written very well for like cheating to even be appealing in the fantasy realm of relationships. So like examples that other games have like dabbled in cheating, or at least mentioned it. One of the ones I can think of is like The Sims. I remember seeing an ad for the very first Sims game when I was in school, and it was a picture of two people in bed, and one person came into the room and they were shocked. And there was like options for the player on how to respond, and one was like leave, cry, fight, or join. And it was like the game's way of telling you that you don't have to do the realistic thing. You can be sexy with it. This is a video game. You can do whatever you want in this fantasy world. And I would really like how this ad at least gets it. And I really want more games to be like that. Porn games or not, I really want that as an option. Another one is like in Mass Effect Andromeda. You can have a dedicated relationship, like a main character relationship, but you can kind of, while you're dating them, you can have a fling with a reporter, and you're technically cheating on them. I guess the game doesn't make it a big deal because it's a side character, but you are cheating on them, because you can be with her while you've already hard-locked a romance in the game. And yeah, that was hot. And in Dragon Age, if you like hard-locked a relationship, you can still go to like a brothel and have sex with whoever you want. Then there's the Catherine game, which is like its whole premise is about cheating. So, you don't have a choice, you cheat no matter what. You play as the guy facing the consequences of those actions, and you get to choose how he responds to that and who he's gonna end up with. So, I love that. I wish there were more games like Catherine being made. I would like a female version, like a female where we play as a woman and we are dating a hot guy and we cheated on him with another hot guy, because this game is catered towards male gamers. The women are hot and sexualized while the male character you play as isn't. When he's like in underwear, he just looks comical. He doesn't look sexy at all. So I would really like a reverse harem version of this game. And jealousy could like be linked to cheating, but not all the time. You could totally be jealous of someone that you're not in a relationship with whatsoever, but you see them with someone else and you just jealous, you know? So that could be hot. Or like in a love triangle, like two guys or more are interested in the female character and they notice that and they're kind of fighting for your affection. That's hot. So I don't need to explain any more than that. But it could be problematic. Like, jealousy is normal. I wouldn't really say that in itself is problematic, but just the scenarios that the characters could get themselves in, or like characters who feel entitled to someone, that's the problematic and toxic traits that the game could explore as sexy, or something to where you can have the option to be like, no, get away from me. So I just want options, and jealousy is one of the ones that's like, yeah, I could see some sexy scenarios coming from jealousy. I want it in my games. So Stalkers is on my list that I want because right now I'm really into yandere characters. They're lovesick characters that get obsessed with someone, that they just want to be around them 24/7. And stalking is one of the biggest things that these characters do. And I don't really have a lot of examples of it in video games that are like in a romantic sort of way, because I get it. But in porn, I could see it happening a lot, and I could see it becoming very sexy. So the only game that really caters to that is Yandere Simulator, where it's like you do a lot of stalking and other stuff, but it's not a romantic game, it's not a dating sim. So this is like a category I really want to be in more dating sims as an option. And other loose like examples of it that made characters interesting is the character Master Mirror in The Witcher 3. He was not like giving off any sexual energy or anything like that, but the fact that he stalks you throughout that DLC just made him more interesting and more terrifying, and he's like one of my top favorite villains. And Legion from Mass Effect. In Mass Effect 2, he doesn't really stalk, but he follows through Shepard's footsteps to try and find them. And the creator said that they had the idea that Legion was going to stalk Shepard, and Shepard was going to notice, and we were supposed to get that character earlier by being noticed that we were being stalked. Because Legion ends up wearing a little piece of armor from Shepard just to show how obsessed they are with Shepard's character. So yeah, that's like a little bit of a obsessive worshipping personality that Legion has, but doesn't know it because it's a robot and it's not supposed to have these feelings, and it just made that character so much more interesting than any other AI. And I love AI characters, so like Legion is like one of my favorites, which is why I've named this podcast after his little quote about Shepard. So yeah, I think if it's written really well, stalking can be really hot, especially when it's it was used in 50 Shades, and that series is supposed to be romantic, but it's romantic porn, right? It's just porn. So everyone calling it problematic, I just don't agree, because I feel like anything goes in porn because it's an escape from the real world. And the same goes with You, the Netflix series. That character stalks the love interests he like, and I could just see it being written as a sexy, twisted yandere game, at least, you know? Like if one of the characters was a lovesick person, or you yourself play as a lovesick person, it it can be really, really interesting, and there is a big audience for it because on Tumblr they have um, on Tumblr they roleplay as a character. They create accounts as different characters and roleplay as them and act like those characters. And then there's accounts that do the same thing but have a yandere version of them. And they get lots of replies, lots of posts and reposts. So there's a big audience for it. We all want it. We're out here. Another thing I wanted to talk about is how a lot of players really want characters to treat us like an ex. So this isn't really like anything problematic or toxic, it's just something that a lot of players want. We want characters to remember a breakup. We want, like, other characters to treat our character different based on who we broke up with, and either we broke up with them to be with someone else or broke up with them because we want to be single. Doesn't matter. I want characters to acknowledge that, versus once you break up with a character or hard lock into a romance, the other characters that you were flirting with, they just act like, oh, we were friends the whole time, you never flirted with me, or you never dated me. Like, the game automatically sets that as everyone else is a friend to you after you picked someone. So I kind of want that to stop. The game that does it the best, and that the closest to like having an ex, is Mass Effect. The whole trilogy. Like, there's characters that will be angry with you if you like broke up with them, or like, yeah, dump them to be with somebody else, or they treat you differently based on if you were completely loyal and waited for them. So I just want way more of that in video games, because it can be really fun just having an ex, and especially when the new person you're dating, if they know who your ex is, why wouldn't they bring that up and reference it and mention it sometimes to your character? Because in most of these games, you're dating within the same crowd, so they all know each other. So it's just really weird when you break up with someone within that same crowd, date someone else within that same crowd, and the person you used to date just treats you like you're a friend, and they have no opinion, like, they have no problem with whoever you're dating. It's just really weird, and that's something that could be written in a story to where it does matter in a plot point or something that just makes the characters more exciting. So I just want to end by saying that I basically just want more options for women with dating sim games. Because it's kind of like when a movie gets so hyped and everyone's excited about it, and you have your expectations high because of the hype, and you go watch it and you're so disappointed. You have no idea why people like it, but it's no big deal for you because you could just go home and watch all the hundreds of other movies that you actually like, and you can actually make a list of movies you think are underappreciated. That's not an option for me. When everyone gets hyped for a new dating sim game, either a big company is making it, or a fan made, or a small indie company is making it, like every time everyone gets hyped, I get hyped because I keep thinking this game's gonna be different. This game is gonna. I like the premise. It seems interesting. I can't wait to play this. And then I always get disappointed because at the most, it's a 3 out of 5. So there's no dating sim game that I feel like is worth more than a 3 out of 5. Like dating sims for women, and I really want to stop being let down, because it's not like I have the privilege to be like, oh, who cares about that game that's overhyped? I could just go play all these other games that I think deserves more hype, because there's none. There's no other games I think deserves more hype. So I wish like I had a lot of options like men have with their games. I wish I had, like, imagine there only being 30 to 40 options in movies. That world would suck. Well, that's my world with video games. So yeah, I really hope Japan and like America and just more fans speak up about this, and that they listen and make it, because do they not want more money? Women have money too. Take our money. Thanks for listening.